Hello, fellow civilians, it is I. Anyway, I want to, from now on, spend every Monday covering a new mod for no game in particular. It may sometimes be Heretic, it may sometimes be Doom, and it may sometimes be something else. So last week, the randomizer for Deus Ex was covered, but this week I would like to look at a Heretic mod, which is, after all, the current focus of my channel. This mod is called Bitter Heretic. It is a weapon mod, which replaces all the weapons in the game with ones that are a bit more melee combat oriented. There are, of course, still ranged weapons, but the ammunition is scarce and they are considerably weaker than their melee counterparts. The combat is also a bit more aimed towards utilizing items, which in the base games are things you would just use in niche situations to overcome an obstacle, while here you'll be using them regularly as a part of your day-to-day combat. There are also some major graphical changes with upscaled textures. Some enemies have also been modified, such as the fact that now the golems are knights with a sword and shield, and the shield that they can actually block with, making them quite a bit harder to deal with, but still nothing too hard. Another quite curious change is that iron liches can now fly, and not just float above the ground slightly, but actually fly, as a gargoyle or a wizard would. Anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at the weapons themselves. Okie dokie, so the first weapon we will start with is of course the weapon that is bound to the number 1 key. It is a weapon you start with, and that is the spiky mace. So let us see how it performs in combat. Pretty well, destroying an undead warrior in just a mere few hits. The next weapon, of course, is the weapon bound to the number 2 key, which is, as in regular Heretic, the wand. So it's your standard one basically, just shoots and shoots. I guess took quite a while to destroy one dead warrior, and considering you can't even, oopsies, yeah, the iron liches can fly, as I have already stated. Well, considering that you can't, at least I don't know a way to reload it. That is quite a shame, that it is quite weak. Next up, we have the axes. They are just that, axes, and they attack a bit quicker than the mace, but they do significantly less damage, and they do tend to kill some things quicker, like for example undead warriors, but undead liches they struggle with, since those have a knockback, which since you're attacking them quickly, you need to run back every time, and overall you do less damage. Okie dokie, now on number 4 we have the Necromancer Gloves from the original game, but here they are a bit stronger than they were originally, and they also always heal you, I'm pretty sure, unlike in the original game, but you may notice the blue claw orb indicator in the bottom. This, when it reaches a certain point, it will turn red, which will happen soon. So it's around 65 or 67, around there, and when it reaches 100, it damages you and stops working for a while. It needs to cool down. Since the Necromancer Gloves are a lot more powerful here, in order to prevent it from being too overpowered, it needs to cool down, that is. Next, ending the classic trio of weapons, so to say, with mace, axe, and sword, is of course the sword. So, typical sword, slower strikes, but massive damage. Absolutely amazing damage. Really good for killing iron liches, since big damage. And okay, yeah, anyway. It's like, see, he's already crackled. And yes, enemies do have different states as they get damaged. Like, for example, iron liches become crackled. See how fast I killed them? Yeah. And mage as well takes a mage out in one hit. Next, on number 6, we have the thing that the serpents use, in fact, which can, as an alt fire the projectiles that they use, which are extremely strong, I must say. And yes, weapons here do have alt fires. As you can see, the iron lich reflects it, which is quite funny. Yes, weapons here do have alt fires. I forgot to show it on the other weapons, but on the other ones, it's it's just blocking, so nothing really to show there. And for the wand, it's the stupid weapon from the original game, which I still really dislike, although it is quite buffed here. So you see, it's really good damage in both modes. You see how quickly, one shot literally. And now we have the Molotar's hammer, which is the hammer that the Molotar itself used. So it is pretty much a replacement for the Phoenix Rod in this version of the game. Very scarce ammo, but extremely powerful. Not a really good example there, but usually it does this from the very first hit. It sets things on fire and they just burn, you know. So, oi, oi, oi. Okay, no, bad example. Like that. That is what it's supposed to do. Just hit something, sets it on fire, it burns down. Simple enough. On number 8, we have the Tome of Power. Well, you may remember the Tome of Power is an item in the original game. Well, here it's not an item, it's an actual weapon which shoots ice shards similar to that of Iron Lich. They slow down weapons and enemies and eventually freeze them up completely. And this may take a while, but when they are frozen up completely, you can simply break them with any of your other weapons. And yes, not sure how this happens, but eventually you can get a shield for your mace, which is quite good protection. See? No damage. Very good protection. Don't know how a shield's that powerful, but still. Now, next up on number 9, we have the Ethereal Crossbow. We've all used it, we've all loved it. Anyway, still its old self, just shooting out projectiles, although it is a bit buffed here, since there is significantly less ammo. And the arrows, I can't show you here right now, but the arrows, they don't stop once they hit something, they continue going. Now, the Ethereal Crossbow also has an alt fire, which just fires out 3 smaller projectiles, like a shotgun would. And now another thing about the Ethereal Crossbow, eventually you can get an upgrade for it. I'm not sure how, I haven't actually played this whole mod, I just am showing the weapons, you know. So you can get an upgrade which basically makes it double barrel, so super Ethereal Crossbow if you will, like the double barrel shotgun that's from Doom. Yeah, but anyway, it can have a faster rate of fire, or its alt fire will instead fire out 6 smaller projectiles, or yeah, 6. Okay, and finally on 0 we have the Mace, which we all have already seen, but it comes with a torch this time, which as an alt fire can burn things, and it also illuminates ground, so you won't need to be stuck in those dark places, you know. Okay, so to see the rest of the items, we will now be actually going into the actual game. So first we have this mushroom cloud thing, which poisons everything around it. And yes, these are new enemies that have been added. It is quite strong, at least on these earlier levels against the weaker monsters. I don't think it's gonna work that well against like Molotars or something, but yeah, it's quite plentiful. There's quite a lot of it. As you can see, it's kind of permastuns everything. Next, we also have ice, which, well, as you may expect, freezes things, and which you can then break. Next we have Tar, which when you place it down, it's pretty much like Time Bomb of the Ancients. It explodes after a while, and it burns things. So what do I think of this mod in general? I think it is an amazing overhaul to the fighting system of Heretic, definitely adding the challenge of more melee to the game, considering originally you had ranged weapons and almost no one else had them, making the game a lot easier in a way. I would definitely recommend giving this mod a try if you have some free time on your hands. I personally do not have time to play through the entire mod since I am quite busy, which I think is a shame considering just at first glance at how improved the textures are, you can see that a colossal amount of work and love went into creating this mod, and then diving a bit deeper, looking at all the changed and new weapons, all with new added animation. Oh, and I didn't even touch on the animation. There are so many new animations for the monsters. Each one has multiple death animations, all of which are a lot more gorier, I must say, than the originals, which I personally can't really appreciate as much considering I don't like gore and it makes me a bit sick. Well then, may you ask, why are you playing Heretic and Doom anyway? Well, because they're good games, Kay? Wait, yeah, anyway, I would definitely recommend for anyone to try this out. Great mod with lots of work put into it. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Farewell, fellow heretics.